So the next Battersea is coming up, and there are a couple of new things that we're getting in. And I just wanted to ask you about a particular piece, because we have something quite big and beautiful coming that means a little bit more to you than people might realise. So maybe just if you could share that story, that could maybe be quite nice.
All right. A bit of sentimentality. There's nothing wrong with a little bit of sentimentality in the world that we deal with. After all, our whole ambit is towards the sentimental. In other words, we like to find pieces that people love. Talking of pieces that people love, I grew up in a house in Hampstead, a beautiful house in Hampstead, and I remember my dad was an antique dealer, of course, and I was about 6 years old. I remember it very well. It was 1970, and my father bought a painting which was delivered, and it was quite a large painting, and it was by a French artist. It was called Shepherd and Shepherdess. Very sentimental painting of a shepherd playing the pipes and a beautiful shepherdess sitting next to him. So it was very romantic, sugary sweet, high Victorian painting, and my father bought it from a very well-known dealer called Joe Gordon, who had a shop first in Church Street, Kensington Church Street, and then in Mount Street. The painting came when I was 6 years old, and there was a place just above the mantelpiece in the living room, and my father said to the carriers, put it on the mantelpiece and then we'll hang it. Anyway, never got to hang it. It stayed there for 20 years on the mantelpiece, but it did look fantastic. It was very much a part of my childhood. And then my dad sold the house, and for some reason my dad decided that he wanted a clean start. So in the 90s he sold all the contents, and I was quite heartbroken, and he was actually quite heartbroken. He regretted selling that painting, because to me that painting really represented my childhood. Anyway, fast forward, it's now 2026. And my father passed away on January 17, and about 3 weeks afterwards, it was a Saturday morning, and post came, and sort of got up, grabbed the post, picked up a catalogue, got back into bed. I'm flicking through the catalogue, and there is the painting. It's come up for sale, and I just burst into tears, and my missus looked at me as if, oh my God, how many catalogues have you ever flicked through and burst into tears in? So I said, still, I grew up with that painting. It really represents my childhood, and it epitomises my dad. Anyway, I decided that I'd buy the painting, so we actually bought the painting, and I was a bit unfair on Tom, but we'll come to that in a minute. And I'm quite excited about it, and I can see my dad saying to me, son, it's a lovely painting. Sell it to someone who loves it as much as I loved it. So that's what we're going to do. But I was very unfair on Tom, because
he's saying this. That's a lovely story, right? A really beautiful story. And he didn't tell me that, but he just showed me the painting and said, what do you reckon? What do you think about that? I looked at it and thought, no, it's not for me.
A bit sugary sweet, which it is. Anyway, we're going to take that to Battersea, and it's going to be the centrepiece.
Yeah, and I think what's really beautiful about that story as well for me, and just as a lesson in terms of this trade, is that not everything is buying, selling, margins, profit. What can you sell? You know, there's a whole emotionality to this business, and there is, well, not something necessarily not wrong, but encouraged to be sentimental and to be open to your emotions and to what speaks to you. And stories like this will hopefully lead to that being another kid's story in another 50 or so years that talks about that painting that he had. And that's really, really beautiful. Yeah. And that's why you do it.
Yeah.
And so next time you show me anything, I'll simply look at it and say, wonderful, amazing.
No, you won't.